Behind the polished image of every celebrity lies a human being with real emotions, vulnerabilities, and untold stories. Today, we're diving into one of those rare, genuine moments that remind us of the humanity behind the fame. This is the story of how South Korean superstar Kim Soo-hyun, known for his incredible emotional range on screen, found himself completely unprepared for what a group of dedicated fans had created. If you think you know everything about this iconic actor, prepare to be surprised. The events that followed this video screening changed not just how fans see him, but how he sees himself and his entire career path. Make sure you stay with us until the end, because this story takes several unexpected turns that the mainstream media has never fully covered. If you're a fan of Korean dramas or Kim Soo-hyun's work, drop a comment below with your favorite role he's played. We'd love to know what resonated with you the most. It arrived at his agency's office in Gangnam on an ordinary Tuesday morning. In spring, an unmarked package addressed personally to Kim Soo-hyun. In the entertainment world of Seoul, where fan gifts range from extravagant to eccentric, the staff at Gold Medalist Entertainment had seen it all. But this package was different. No elaborate wrapping, no expensive brand names, just a simple box containing a USB drive and a handwritten letter. At the time, Kim Soo-hyun was in the final stages of preparing for his comeback project after military service, a period that had already been emotionally taxing as he navigated the pressures of returning to the spotlight after 2 years away. The industry had changed. New actors had risen to prominence, and questions loomed about whether he could recapture the magic that had made him one of Korea's highest-paid actors before his mandatory service. The letter accompanying the USB was signed by a collective of fans who had followed his career since his breakthrough role in Dream High back in 2011. They explained that the video wasn't meant for public viewing. It was created specifically for him during a moment when they sensed he might need reassurance about his place in the industry and the impact he had made on countless lives around the world. What made this gift particularly unique was its timing. Unknown to the public, Kim had been struggling with something very personal behind his confident exterior. Just weeks before, he had confided to his closest circle that he was considering taking a hiatus after his upcoming project. The pressures of returning to an industry that demanded perfection, coupled with some private family matters in his hometown of Gyeonggi Province, had left him questioning whether he wanted to continue on this path. His manager later revealed that he nearly set the package aside for another day, buried as he was under script readings and costume fittings. It was only a sudden schedule change, a postponed meeting due to a director's flight delay, that created the unexpected window of time that allowed him to view the contents that day. Had that meeting not been delayed, the course of events that followed might never have happened, and the transformation that was about to take place might never have occurred. As Kim plugged the USB into his laptop in the privacy of his personal studio apartment, in the upscale Hanam-dong neighborhood, the same apartment he'd moved to after finding his previous location in Gangnam too accessible to overeager fans, he had no idea that the next 15 minutes would trigger an emotional journey unlike anything he had experienced before, even in his most demanding roles. The video began simply, no flashy introductions or professional editing. Just a black screen fading into footage Kim instantly recognized, his first television appearance as a child actor, a clip so obscure he was shocked anyone had found it. What followed was a carefully constructed journey through moments of his life and career that revealed a perspective he had never considered. There were the expected highlights: his breakthrough in Dream High, his transformation in Moon, embracing the sun, the global phenomenon of My Love from the Star, and his complex portrayal in It's Okay to Not Be Okay. But interwoven with these familiar milestones were moments he had forgotten or never seen. Behind-the-scenes footage where he comforted junior actors nervous about their first big scenes. Fan testimonials from people whose lives had changed because of how his performances helped them through personal struggles. And most surprisingly, clips from interviews with his early mentors discussing the exceptional work ethic of the young, unknown Kim Soo-hyun, long before fame found him. One segment hit particularly close to home: The fans had somehow found and included rare footage of a young Kim practicing dialogue repeatedly in an empty classroom after hours, a habit he had developed to overcome his childhood struggle with delayed language development, something he had mentioned only once in an interview years ago. This difficulty, which had caused him to be more introverted as a child, was part of what drove him toward acting as a way to express himself more freely. Seeing this childhood challenge acknowledged and celebrated as part of his journey, rather than something to hide, struck a chord deep within him. The video took an unexpected turn when it featured interviews with staff members from his various projects. Not the directors or famous co-stars, but the lighting technicians, costume assistants, and production runners who worked behind the scenes. They spoke about Kim's consistent kindness, how he remembered everyone's names regardless of their position, and how he would bring coffee to the entire crew on particularly difficult shooting days. One elderly lighting director, now retired, became emotional as he described how Kim had visited him in the hospital after a serious health scare, a story that had never made it to the press. What do you think so far about Kim Soo-hyun's reaction to seeing himself through the eyes of others? Have you ever had a moment when you saw yourself differently because of how others perceived you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The video's most powerful moment came at the 8-minute mark. The screen split to show dual footage. On one side was Kim's famous emotional breakdown scene from It's Okay to Not Be Okay, widely praised as one of the most authentic portrayals of vulnerability ever captured in Korean drama. On the other side was something he had never seen: reaction videos of viewers around the world watching this scene for the first time. The global tapestry of faces, from Seoul to São Paulo, New York to Nairobi, all experiencing the same raw emotional connection to his performance, created a visual representation of art, transcending language and cultural barriers. The fans had collected these reactions from dozens of countries, showing how his work had touched people he would never meet, in places he had never visited. What the video revealed next was something even Kim's closest friends didn't know. Through carefully researched interviews with his childhood drama teacher, the fans had discovered that the breakthrough emotional scene hadn't just been brilliant acting. It had been partially inspired by a real moment from his adolescence when he had struggled with self-doubt about pursuing acting, despite family concerns about the stability of such a career. His drama teacher explained how young Soo-hyun had channeled personal pain into his early performances, showing a rare vulnerability that set him apart from his peers even then. The video then transitioned to something entirely unexpected, a section featuring the charitable works Kim had tried to keep private. Despite his efforts to donate anonymously, the fans had connected the dots on several major contributions to organizations supporting children with learning disabilities. This cause, deeply personal due to his own childhood struggles, was something he had never discussed publicly, believing that charity should be done quietly without publicity. Seeing these private acts brought to light, not in an invasive way, but with profound respect for the impact they had made, left him speechless. As the video approached its conclusion, it showed a montage of moments throughout his career, when he had visibly pushed through exhaustion, illness, and personal challenges to deliver performances that later became iconic. One particularly moving clip showed him arriving at a fan meeting, despite having been hospitalized for exhaustion just hours earlier, something he had done not out of obligation, but because he couldn't bear to disappoint the fans who had traveled to see him. The contrast between his bright smile that day and the hospital bracelet still visible on his wrist when he waved told a story of dedication that went beyond professional responsibility. The final moments of the video featured no celebrity glamour or dramatic scenes. Instead, it showed a simple compilation of ordinary fans speaking directly to the camera, each sharing how his work had affected their lives in profound ways, helping them through grief, inspiring career changes, even giving them courage to pursue their own dreams despite obstacles. The authenticity of these testimonials, from people with nothing to gain by sharing their stories, created a portrait of impact that no box office number or viewership rating could ever capture. What happened next has remained largely private, known only to those closest to Kim Soo-hyun. According to his longtime manager, who was called to the apartment several hours after Kim was scheduled to leave for an evening appointment, the actor, was found still sitting in front of his laptop, the video long finished but its impact clearly visible. For the first time since his career began, Kim had asked to cancel all commitments for the remainder of the day, something he had never done, even when filming physically demanding scenes that left him exhausted. Those next 24 hours became a turning point that would later reshape not just his approach to his career, but his entire public persona. In the privacy of his apartment, overlooking the Han River that divides Seoul, Kim experienced what he would later describe in a rare personal interview as a mirror I wasn't prepared to look into. The carefully constructed boundaries between his public and private selves, boundaries necessary for survival in an industry that consumed its stars, had momentarily dissolved. What made the experience particularly powerful was the realization that the fans who created the video had somehow seen parts of himself that he had forgotten were there. In the relentless pace of Korea's entertainment industry, where actors often film 20-hour days and move directly from one project to the next, the opportunity for genuine self-reflection is rare. Success in this world is measured in ratings, endorsement deals, and international recognition. Metrics that, while validating, say little about the human impact of one's work. For Kim, who had risen to fame relatively young and navigated the pressures of being labeled the next big thing since his early 20s, the video represented the first time he had seen his career as a continuous journey rather than a series of roles and projects. More importantly, it was the first time he had been confronted with the reality that his work existed beyond him, that his performances, once created, belonged also to those whose lives they touched. His manager later shared that when she arrived at the apartment that evening, concerned after uncharacteristic missed calls, she found him writing furiously in a journal, something she hadn't seen him do since his early acting days when he would meticulously analyze scripts and characters. The intensity of his focus was such that he barely registered her presence for several minutes. The production team for his upcoming drama noticed a shift in his approach at the next script reading. The director commented that Kim brought a depth to the character that hadn't been evident before, nuances that weren't explicitly written in the script, but emerged organically through his interpretation. What had already promised to be a strong comeback performance was evolving into something that industry insiders would later describe as career-defining. Thank you so much for sticking with this story so far. I truly appreciate you taking the time to join me on this journey through such a pivotal moment in Kim Soo-hyun's life. And trust me, the most revealing part of this story is still to come. The video itself never leaked to the public or media, a remarkable feat in an industry where privacy is increasingly rare. This wasn't due to legal agreements or technological safeguards, but rather a collective decision by everyone who knew about its existence to respect the deeply personal nature of both the gift and Kim's reaction to it. 3 weeks after viewing the video, Kim Soo-hyun did something unprecedented in his carefully managed career. During the press conference for his new drama, when asked the standard question about what attracted him to the role, he veered off script. Rather than delivering the expected response about the character's complexity or the strength of the screenplay, he spoke candidly about rediscovering his purpose as an actor and the responsibility he felt toward those who found meaning in his work. Journalists in attendance immediately noted the change. Gone was the polished, somewhat reserved persona that had characterized his previous press appearances. In its place was something more authentic, more willing to acknowledge both the privileges and pressures of his position. When a reporter commented on this apparent shift, Kim acknowledged that he had recently experienced a reevaluation that had reminded him why he began acting in the first place. What followed was perhaps the most significant professional decision of his post-military career. Against the advice of industry experts who suggested capitalizing on his renewed popularity with back-to-back projects, Kim announced he would be limiting himself to one major production per year. The additional time, he explained, would be divided between more selective film projects that challenged him artistically and expanded work with his foundation supporting children with learning disabilities, the cause he had previously kept private but now embraced publicly. Industry reaction was mixed. Some saw it as a risky move for an actor re-establishing himself after military service in an industry where visibility is currency. Others recognized it as the confident choice of a performer prioritizing longevity and meaning over immediate opportunities. His agency, after initial reservations, ultimately supported the decision, recognizing that Kim's unique position in the industry allowed him greater freedom to define his own path. The first project he selected under this new approach was Telling, a film based on the true story of a teacher who transformed the lives of students with various learning challenges, including several with the same language development difficulties Kim had experienced as a child. When asked about the connection during the film's promotion, he spoke openly for the first time about his early struggles and how they had shaped his approach to both acting and life. The fan collective who had created the original video remained anonymous, their identities known only to Kim and his closest associates. However, on the 1-year anniversary of the day he received the package, something unusual appeared on his otherwise professional Instagram account. A simple photo of a USB drive next to a handwritten note that said, "Thank you for seeing me," in Korean. No caption accompanied the image, but fans who had followed his journey recognized it immediately for what it was, an acknowledgement of transformation that began with an unexpected mirror. What began as a simple fan tribute became a catalyst for one of the most authentic evolutions we've seen from a major Korean star. Kim Soo-hyun's story reminds us that beneath the glamour and success, even the biggest celebrities are shaped by moments of genuine human connection and self-discovery. Since that pivotal moment, Kim has not only elevated his already impressive acting career, but has created a new model for how Korean stars can engage more meaningfully with their platform and influence. His foundation now supports thousands of children annually, and his more selective approach to roles has paradoxically increased rather than diminished his standing in the industry. I'd love to know your thoughts on this story. Have you ever experienced a moment that changed how you saw yourself or your purpose? Has a fan or supporter ever helped you see your own value in a new light? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deeper look into the humanity behind celebrity, you might want to check out our video on how Gong Yoo's experience filming Train to Busan led to a complete reassessment of his approach to fame. It's another story of transformation you won't want to miss.